This is the start of a much-loved season in Germany. It's Carnival time, and this year it began under coronavirus restriction measures in Cologne. Last year, it was canceled altogether. And to a lot of us, this looks like a lot of fun and at least a semblance of normal. But what does it look like to an epidemiologist? Well, let's find out. Ralf Reintjes is a professor for epidemiology and public health surveillance at the Hamburg University of Applied Sciences in Germany, and he joins us now live. So, Ralf, we just saw the scenes in Cologne. What do you see when you look at that, and how does it relate to the current COVID transmission rates in Germany and also more widely throughout Europe?
Yes, as I'm originally from this region, I can understand the Carnival spirit, but it's not the right moment for Carnival at the moment, or for parties like this. So it only contributes to the further spread of the virus in Europe, and we see high numbers, extremely high numbers now in Germany, but also in many neighboring countries.
So you say this isn't the right moment. So paint a bit of a picture for us right now of exactly what the COVID situation is in Europe. What are leaders talking about over there? What's the mood of the people? What's the situation?
And the mood of the people is probably, it's difficult to describe, because I think there's a strong COVID or pandemic fatigue now. People are fed up and slowly got the message that the problem would be probably over soon. We had elections in Germany where politicians were focusing on other issues. And so the situation has become really serious now, with the numbers extremely increasing. And in some countries, in our neighboring countries, and also here in Germany, now slowly the understanding is growing that further measures are needed.
And Europe more widely is now seen as the epicenter once again for the pandemic. But I want to narrow in on a couple of areas, a couple of countries. Let's start with the Netherlands. So the Dutch government just announced a 3-week partial lockdown. And then Austria, if we take a look at Austria, is potentially going to order millions of unvaccinated people to stay at home. So what do you make of these measures that we're now seeing, that some of these governments, some countries who've been doing pretty well, are once again looking at some of these strong lockdowns measures? What does that signal to you?
Yes, it tells us only that decision makers have been waiting for a bit too long this summer, or this late summer, and we saw the numbers increasing instead of taking action beforehand. And I think it's a problem of not functioning risk communication and risk perception here in this situation.
And what about immunization? Give us sort of a sense of what the overall immunization rate is in Europe right now. Are most people fully vaccinated, or is that a concern right now?
It differs from country to country. In Germany, it's about 2/3 of the population is vaccinated. In the Netherlands, a bit more. But in Spain, for example, the rates are pretty high. So you see also countries where the vaccination rate is higher, the lesser the problem is.
And what is driving that? Is there vaccine hesitancy? Is that why some of these people in countries that do have sort of ample supply of vaccines, is that why they're not going to get them?
Yes, vaccine hesitancy, or still people ignoring the problem, or just being angry with government or whatever. So there are lots of factors. It's a very multi-causal situation.
So from where you sit, from your view as an epidemiologist, what's the bigger problem right now? Is it vaccine hesitancy and people not going to get vaccinated? Is it people not following other public health measures? What is the main problem that's facing Europe right now?
The main problem is a combination of all this. We all don't really know exactly how to get this under control or to stop it. Certainly, vaccinating people only to this relatively low level is not sufficient, and people need to be aware that other measures need to be taken serious at the same time.
And of course, we're more than a year and a half into this right now. So some of these people who are not getting vaccinated, is there any hope of reaching them anymore? Of course, that's been a big conversation over here in North America and both Canada and the US about whether or not you can still get through to some people who are not vaccinated. How optimistic are you that some of those people who are not vaccinated in Europe, that they can be reached by that message?
This is a very difficult question for an epidemiologist. It's more a psychological issue, I would say. But maybe one fact would be really relevant. We all have heard in the media recently that 2 new treatments have become available. For those people who are out there, the most dangerous period is going to be this winter. More and more treatments will become available afterwards. So if you can avoid it, potentially deadly disease can become like HIV infection, a more easier handleable disease. So I think we should all take it more serious in the coming months.
And Ralph, just finally, because there's a lot of Canadians who have family in Europe, of course, or who are perhaps thinking about traveling to Europe over the holiday season. The virus today versus the virus of March 2020, what is the difference? What should people be aware of about what they might be faced with if they were to go over and travel in Europe right now at a time when it seems like we're seeing a bit of a resurgence?
Yes, in 2020, the virus was a wild type or the alpha variant, which was not as transmissible as this current Delta variant. And at that time, measures, contact reduction and so on, and hygiene measures were much more actively followed than at the moment. So it is certainly not a much better situation at the moment than a year ago. So be careful when you're traveling.
Okay. Ralph Reinches, Professor of Epidemiology and Public Health Surveillance at the Hamburg University of Applied Sciences in Germany. Thank you so much for your time today, sir.
You're most welcome.
You're watching CBC News Network. We're back in just a moment.